it has to make sense. So it's 7 of us in here, and we're not growing, and we're not even breaking that $100 threshold where we could get paid, because a little bit more inside stuff. We use the Kiss the Ring money to go to wrestling shows and stuff like that. We split it between each
Mm.
other. But if we're not reaching that goal where we can actually get out in the field and meet each other, do content in person, then we got to do something different. And I just, you can look at, if you're doing one podcast per week and the numbers are just not where they're going, and you're coming back next week and everything's just not going up. If there's no upward trajectory, then, what are we doing?
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talk Trash, and stand back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by probably someone that's quickly becoming the GOAT of wrestling content creation. I'm joined by a very good friend of mine. I'm joined by the one and only Kenny Bomb from the Kenny Bomb YouTube channel and Kiss the Ring. So welcome back on the show, my friend.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you having me. I don't know about the GOAT, though. People seem to hate my takes these days, but we're having fun, so I'm not mad at it.
That's really, really cool, my friend. We'll talk about how you started in wrestling and fandom in a minute. You talked about people hating your takes. What do you mean by that as we record this in August of 2024?
So right now, like last night, we were doing some videos covering like Roman Reigns' return at SummerSlam, and my
Bearing in
take
mind this
was,
will air in September, guys. Just
yeah, oh,
be
okay, yeah. But we were talking about Roman Reigns' return, and I felt like when he came out, he should have kind of looked more like a star. Like he came out selling his OTC t-shirt with some sweatpants on. I just said he should have came out with his shirt off, maybe had some cooler pants on or something, just looking like a star. But everybody felt like he had that energy. But I come from a day where you remember like guys like The Undertaker, when he'd make a big return, he'd have
mm.
like a new elaborate coat on or something, like the one he got stuck in that time. So, I mean, that's
Oh
just what I'm
yeah.
used to. But hey, that's just how I feel.
I understand what you're saying completely there. So you brought up there, growing up with guys like The Undertaker and things like that. Since we've grown a lot since our last conversation, Kenny, for the good people that might not know, and for your channels that are coming over from Kiss the Ring and Kenny
Mm-hmm.
Bomb, where do you first discover wrestling as an overall fan?
When I first discovered wrestling, I mean, for me, it's just kind of always been around because my dad used to watch wrestling. So, as a young boy, I'd always be around my dad. He's watching wrestling. I'm sitting on the couch watching whatever he's watching. But I do remember like the first wrestler that kind of stuck with me was Shawn Michaels. Like that's when, I started doing his dances around the house and stuff. My dad would be like, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" I'm telling everybody it's Shawn Michaels. But then I think when it really clicked was when I saw The Undertaker. And he's just been my favorite wrestler ever since. And since I saw him, I was all in, and I was just a wrestling guy. So it's really no day I can tell you I started watching it. It was just always there.
What version of Shawn Michaels is your favorite? And then what
My
version of Shawn and then what version of The Undertaker is your favorite, my friend?
that is a great question. So Shawn Michaels, I liked when he was back in the day when he was a sexy boy coming down off the like flying across the rails, Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon, when he was young, like and first really getting in there doing it, like when he was figuring out who he was. That was my favorite version. For the Undertaker, I always loved every version, starting with the purple gloves. I remember that's the first I saw him. But my favorite version is definitely the Ministry of Darkness Undertaker, just because, like I said earlier, he came back, he was different, had a whole different presentation, and he felt like a big, nasty, evil man. But he looked like a star, so that's just my favorite version of him.
Mm. So you talk about wrestlers looking like stars there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When if wrestlers look like, because I understand you discovered what era did you discover wrestling before I set up this question actually?
It was like 93. I was like 3 years old. I think that's like my first memories of it with the Shawn Michaels days.
So if you discovered wrestling maybe a couple of years later, when every wrestler had a occupation, I believe the phrase is occupational
Mm-hmm.
gimmicks at the
Yeah,
time, when maybe they didn't look like so much like stars, do you think you would have still been a wrestling fan?
I think so because I remember like I think Junkyard Dog was still around. Um, Well, I like you say occupational stars. I guess that, yeah, I guess that was before me. Cause I had like Junkyard, no, I had like Goldust. I remember like Ahmed Johnson was there, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't answer. I don't know. That's a good question too.
Hmm.
Just coming off of the Attitude Era when these guys turned into stars and they all had characters and gimmicks. That's really what I liked from wrestling that we really don't get too much anymore, unfortunately.
So if I said to you, Kenny, you talk about what we don't get too much anymore in wrestling. But
Mhm,
as we record this in August of 2024, where is
mhm.
your current fandom as we record this?
My current fandom, I really I love everything. But I love certain things about WWE. I love certain things about AEW. Sometimes, like the two companies do things where they gel well, like the Rhea Ripley Dominic Mysterio thing. I like stories in wrestling. I like when there's a match and there's a reason these guys are fighting, and it's like it all just comes together. Like with that story, I think it did go on too long, but we had a story behind Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan going up against each other, so you actually care about the outcome. In AEW, you get some of that sometimes, but it seems like they focus more on the heavy wrestling aspect. Growing up, I really didn't care about wrestling matches. It was Undertaker versus Stone Cold. The Undertaker is my favorite wrestler. I want the Undertaker to win, so I really didn't care about a 5-star elaborate match. I cared about
Mm.
the story and my favorite wrestler winning. These days, it seems like everybody wants to focus on, oh, that was a 5-star match. It was so good. Like in AEW, I think that's their biggest problem. They just want to put on great matches all the time, and there's really no story behind it. Sometimes they do get it where they get the story in, but like WWE, it's like sometimes they don't tell these elaborate stories anymore, or they'll start the story and they'll just drop it off. Like the Bloodline thing's been going on for so long. Like I love stories, but I'm like, let's move on to something else. So where I am right now, it's kind of conflicted between the two, just everything. I want to see it go a different way. I want to see us get things more in line where they're telling a story that's like threaded throughout the show. And then when we get to the pay per view, the matches mean a lot more. But I just feel like they've kind of moved away from that. And that's where I want to get back to. But I don't know if I answered the question. There's a lot of
No,
rambling,
you
but I
did.
mean,
You
it's
did.
just a lot.
What is the balance then? Because you talked about liking things from different promotions. So if
Hmm.
Kenny Bomb was to start Kiss the Ring Wrestling tomorrow, what would
Hmm.
the balance be in the sense of like how would you mix stories and I was trying to think of a cooler way to say it, but wrestling. Do you know what I mean?
Like if I had like my own promotion, we're starting this thing and like we're up there with WWE and AEW, you're saying? Like if I had my
Hmm.
own promotion.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm finding the guys who are going to be my stars. I'm going to make sure I have two top guys who are going to start a feud or whatever. If we're starting our first championship, well, that's going to be the main feud. But behind those two, I'm going to have two other guys who can come up behind them. And I'm just going to have like a tree of different guys. You know, you got your top, you got your mid card. Seems like what they do today is like, let's say Kenny Omega's going for the championship. He's the champion for a long time. He loses that belt. Now Kenny Omega's at the back of the line, like he's doing nothing. I think once you get a guy hot, you got to keep him like hot, like right underneath the championship.
Mhm.
So you can kind of, let's say your champion gets injured, you can push him right up there and he's still hot. I feel like you got to have these follow up guys. And these days, these guys don't. So I would just really focus on building my stars. I know the big thing right now with WWE is the star. We're going to push the brand, but I would kind of get it back on the wrestlers and make sure I have some big stars out there like The Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold, that these guys carried the company. Back then, it wasn't really the name WWF because you had WCW. So I would kind of put the focus back on the wrestlers, build great stories, and lead into these great matches because anybody can really have a great match these days. I don't think I would be worried about that at all. It's really focusing on getting the right people in there to book the shows and tell the stories to get you to those matches. So that's really what my focus would be.
Mm. You talk about your focus there. Where did Kenny Bomb come from? Where did you get the idea? I'm going to start my YouTube channel, Kenny Bomb, and things like that. I know we talked about a lot of this stuff last time, but it's for the newer
Yeah,
audience. Do you know what I
for
mean?
sure. Yeah, right, right. I understand. So I always wanted to do like YouTube videos and stuff. Like I didn't even know what I wanted to do. Well, I knew I wanted to do wrestling. Like forever, whatever I did, it would be wrestling. But as far as like video games, I like to play a lot of different video games. Mortal Kombat was another thing that was always there when I was growing up because my dad played Super Nintendo and we had it in the house. So I just really took the things I grew up with that I knew like a lot about, and I built my channel based on that. But it took a while for me to do it because I was like procrastinating because I wasn't comfortable. Like even when we did our first interview, I wasn't even comfortable. I was just faking it till I made it. But Kiss and Ring, those guys really did help me out, like speaking on camera. So it was really just a growth pattern. But when I started, I was kind of, like I said, faking it till I made it. I was glad AEW Fight Forever was there because that was something I was really excited about. And I wanted to talk about wrestling and just jumping in, talking about what's going on wrestling TV. So many people are doing that. It's kind of hard to get in there. So those videos weren't doing well. But I noticed the AEW videos were doing well. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I should stick to making
Mm.
some of these, but keeping Mortal Kombat and keeping some other things going. And a lot of people say it's like a recipe for a disaster because whenever you're doing a YouTube channel, you should kind of focus on one thing and push towards that
Mm.
audience. But I felt like if I was doing that, I'd kind of get burnt out because I'm talking about something I don't want to talk about anymore. And that's the only thing I'm doing here. So I have to talk about it. And what I did, thankfully, it's working for me. I could talk about, I think, whatever I want. If I talk about something new, I mean, it's going to take a while to build that audience, but it will build and those people will come in and watch. So, everything, I don't know. It just worked for me for some reason, and I didn't expect it to so fast. When I started, my goal was to get 1,000 subscribers in the first year. I ended up with 15 somehow, but I'm just thankful for it. It seems like people gravitated towards me, and again, I'm thankful because I don't know what happened.
It's hard work and
It
perseverance
is.
and good content, in my opinion, man. You know
Oh,
how much
thanks. I
I enjoy
appreciate
your
it.
content and things like that. So you talked about there the hard work and perseverance and burnout. So how did you make sure in them early days you didn't become burned out? Because you were talking about a lot of things that we all use for I can never say that word, but recreation. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
So how
yeah.
did you make sure you didn't become burned out? And then how has your process for burnout changed since you now work on two different channels?
So, with my channel, the first channel, I just never really experienced burnout, even up until this day. But I did get to a point when I first started, like let's say I started August, September. It was like 3 months there where things weren't moving as fast, or not even as fast, but it just seemed like they weren't just moving at all, really. Like I was just making videos, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just doing whatever. And at that point, there was one point like I was like, man, this is just, I don't know. I don't even want to make a video today because it's just not working. And that one night, I made a video, and that video kind of took off more than any of the others did. It was only like I think 1,500 views, but then people were subscribing, and I was like, oh, okay, so I can do this. I just got to keep working. And
Mm.
after that, I mean, it's been pretty much just at a steady pace, just going up. So I didn't really never experience that burnout. The only time I got like really discouraged was in those first 3 months, but after that, I mean, I think everything was pretty much even 3 subscribers per day at first. I was like, okay, that's good. Two, four. And then it went up to 10. And then, it just kept increasing. So I never really got burnout. I think just because of that. When things are working, it's easier to keep moving. Now with the second channel, when I try to do that by myself, now that's where you get burnt out because you're worrying about getting videos up. Because I do post daily. I
Mm.
know that's crazy, but I post daily,
I
and I'm
do
at a point right
currently.
now where yeah, I can do it because I mean I go to work daily. I'm working for somebody else daily. So if this is something I'm doing for myself, I say I need to take that time to do it for myself as well. So I just pretty much treat it like a job, like it's something I have to do, but I don't mind doing it because I like doing it. With
Mm.
Kiss the Ring, well, first it was WrestleBomb. And the first time I was here was WrestleBomb. We were just starting that up. I was
Yep.
like, I can't do this for two channels. It's just too much. Go to work for 8 hours, spend however many hours on the video for my channel and then the second channel. But I was looking because I wanted to just do a podcast with some other creators. This is when we started off with Off the Top. It was me, Mr. Dubs, Loaded as a Beast, Carol Valentine, just Brian, of course, and unsanctioned TV. It was all of us. We started off, we were just doing it all together, and it was just fun. I was like, you know what? I like coming in here talking to these guys every Tuesday. If we do side videos, playing games, whatever, we're just in here having fun. So that second channel was just me chilling with friends at one point after I quit with WrestleBomb. So it just turned into a thing of fun. But then I was like, you know what, guys? I think we could do more. Now, Tom, this is going to be the exclusive because I'm about to break down the Kiss the Ring off the top history for you. So I was like, after a while, we were doing good. Again, every week we did this podcast, we were having a lot of fun. But after a while, I was like, you know what, y'all, listen, it's 7 of us in here right now. And we haven't really grown much since we've started. I think we should switch the strategy because we're having a lot of fun, but I think we can actually take this somewhere. So I presented a few ideas to the fellas, and some of them were like, no, that's not a good idea. They shot it down. They didn't want to build um, more on top of what we were doing. And some of them were saying they didn't have the time, which is definitely understandable. But the way I was presenting it, everybody would have just been in there like 1 day per week. And a lot of them shot that down. So we just couldn't keep going as we were because it was just a waste of time. You know, we were doing the podcast, like 20, 30 people in there every week, channels monetized, but we're not making any money or anything. So everybody's just coming in here pretty much just, hanging out, and we're not growing. So that's not a positive thing. So I said, you know what? I see more for this channel. I think we can do more. And then a few of the guys who agreed with us changing things up because I was just going to stop doing it altogether. But a few of the guys who, Brian reached out and he was like, yo, Kenny, hop in Discord. I hopped in Discord. He was like, all right, I do agree with you. We're not growing. We're not moving as fast as we should. So, there's only one other person in here who's really open to changing things up. It's Carol. So we pulled Carol in. We had a conversation, and we said, "All right, guys, if you guys don't want to switch the strategy, then we're going to have to move in a different direction." So from there, it's me, Carol, Brian, and things have been going very well ever since. Now, as far as burnout on this channel, these guys are legitimately my friends now. So we come in here, we watch wrestling together. After the show, we make some videos on it. So it's just us talking about the show. So I don't feel burnout at all because it's just us with the camera on talking. And then Omer came along. Now, Omer, real Omer Q, shout out to Real Take Wrestling. That guy is a monster.
Oh
So
yeah.
I post every day on my channels, but this man has like 4 or 5 different channels that he keeps up with. They're all doing well. And I mean, he makes great content. So we're lucky when we can get Omer in there with us because the guy has a great wrestling mind. The other day, he was on X. I was kind of poking at him because he was talking about a wrestler from like 1930, saying he was the best of all time. So the guy, he's very well studied, very well informed, but I like to pick at him a lot, and we go at his takes. But I think what we have now, me, Omer, Brian, and Kiro, it's just kind of like magic. I don't know how we all came together and we all just work so well because their takes kind of contradict with mine. Sometimes Brian and Omer, they contradict with each other. Kiro, he falls on any side of the fence. So, I mean, it's just always a great conversation, but people hate my takes the most. So, hey, it is what it is. As long as we're in there having fun and great conversations. Kiss the Ring is actually probably the most fun I have on YouTube right now. So, as far as burnout over there, we don't run into it. Well, not me, at least. I don't know about the other guys.
If you want to know about the other guys, make sure you check out my recent interviews with Brian and Kiro that should be up on the channel now. Cheap.
Big Ohm's got one too. So,
And
shout out to
Big
Ohm.
Domes has got one up on
Yeah.
the channel. It's been up for a while. So make sure you go
Yes.
check them out. But anyway, shameless plug. I do apologize, Kenny.
No, you should definitely do it.
So you talked about not experiencing burnout and stuff because you're talking with your friends. What
hmm
was that moment like where you were like, right, we've got rid of the people that don't see our vision, for lack of a better phrase. We can
hmm
work on our vision for Kiss the Ring now. What was that moment like when we call it and I hate to go WWE on this, but the new era of Kiss the Ring?
So it was kind of bittersweet because, like, Mr. Dubs, I really like Mr. Dubs. He blocked me ever since because of the conversation we were trying to clean up everything. Clint, cool guy. I don't know what happened with him, but some people just weren't happy with the split. And I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like to have beefs or anything like that. So I still watch these guys' content every time they put up a video. Unsanctioned TV, it was a different situation with him, but still no beef with that guy. Still support them. So it was bittersweet just leaving behind those guys. Oh, gotta shout out Loaded as a beast as well because he's killing it. He's kind of found his lane. He had like 8,000 subscribers at the beginning of the year. Now he's got almost 90. So he's gonna hit 100,000 before the year's up. So shout out to Loaded. He's still cool and everything. So we still talk sometimes. But it was bittersweet because of like cutting off that relationship with those guys because I would still like to work with them. Even up until today, I would like to have them come in and do some videos with us when they have time, but I just don't think they're open to it. So lost some friends along the way, but I guess it's business. I got some became closer with Brian and Kiro. So at that moment, like I think everything just worked out the way it was supposed to.
You talk about their losing friends for being, for lack of a better word, true to yourself, Kenny, and true to your vision and the vision for Kiss the Ring that you had with Brian and Kiro. How important is it to you as a creator? We talked about this a little bit last time, but how important is it to you as a creator to be like, no matter what the numbers are doing and things like that, I have a vision and the vision will pay off eventually.
I think that's very important, especially for what I do, like on my main channel, even because if I want to talk about like I have a Mortal Kombat audience, so those people will watch. I think I got a pretty good wrestling audience right now, because those people do watch also. But if I want to talk about like let's say Dragon Ball Z, that's another thing that I love. Those videos aren't doing well right now, so it's just important if you post that video and it only gets, let's say, 500 views or whatever, which
Mhm.
they'll kind of creep up to 1,000, but compared to the other videos, they don't really do too well. But that's just because I haven't built that audience. So it's just important to not get discouraged by those numbers and completely walk away from doing that type of content. You got to keep going with that content until you actually build that audience up. Because if you give up, you're never going to get it. So numbers, you can't really look at the numbers. If you believe in what you're doing, um, as long as it makes sense, then you just got to keep going and find a different way to approach it if it's not doing what you want it to do.
Mhm. So what would you talked about earlier in this conversation, and we didn't brush past it, but we did sort of go in another direction just because that's how the conversation went. You talked
Mm-hmm.
about having burnout in those first 3 months because you weren't growing. So when did that mindset change where you were like, you don't always have to look at the numbers. If I'm enjoying it, others will enjoy it, sort of thing.
So it has to make sense. So it's seven of us in here, and we're not growing, and we're not even breaking that $100 threshold where we could get paid because a little bit more inside stuff. We use the Kiss the Ring money to go to wrestling shows and stuff like that. We split it between each
Mm.
other. But if we're not reaching that goal where we can actually get out in the field, meet each other, do content in person, then we got to do something different. And I just, you can look at if you're doing one podcast per week and the numbers are just not where they're going, and you're coming back next week and everything's just not going up. If there's no upward trajectory, then what are we doing? But so I mean, it has to make sense. You don't want to focus on the numbers too much if what you're doing is good and people are liking it. But I mean, if it's just not moving and it's not making sense, then of course you got to change your strategy. I mean, it's just I guess it makes sense. Well, it's hard to say. You got to look at things and know when it makes sense. Like if something's not working, you got to know it's not working.
How do you, because we talked about off camera that you're a family man and things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do you know when it's time to go, okay, the content's done for the day? I'm going to spend some time with my family. How do you switch off and make sure that you still are a family and things like that?
So the content doesn't work. It doesn't really start until the family goes to sleep. So the kids, you gotta once they go to bed or whatever, if it's at the end of the day, 9 o'clock, where they're winding down, taking baths or whatever, getting ready for bed, then I can come do whatever I'm doing. But because I work 8 hours a day, I got to make sure I'm in there with the kids during the day while I'm working. Or I work from home, so sometimes you can kind of sneak away from one job and come make a video real quick and then go
Yeah.
back to that job. So you got to really find your spots. Hopefully nobody from my job sees this video. But I don't know. You just really got to find your spots to make everything work. I found out like a program that works for us in the house. Like I take the kids out very often. Like we'll do movie nights or whatever. If we're not doing Kiss the Ring stuff, I'll make sure I do a video during the day. So during the nights, me and the kids can go watch a movie or whatever, play a game with them or whatever they want to do. So you just got to find that balance that works.
You talked about going to see movies with your kids. Best movie you've seen recently?
Well, when we do movie nights, what I do is I make them watch old movies that we watched when I was growing up. So the last one we watched was Matilda, one of my favorite movies when I was growing up.
Ooh,
Is that before your time or are you familiar?
no, I like that one, but I have a
Yeah.
question regarding Matilda in a second.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thoughts on the remake?
I didn't watch it. I don't want to
No,
mess up the original, so I'm not watching it. My daughter said she watched it and she didn't like it, so I was like, I'm just gonna keep my Matilda I had growing up. I'm not gonna. Did you like it? Was it good?
I thought it was fun, but
Really?
I think I'm one of those people. It doesn't matter about the movie for me. It's who I go with. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And the person I went with at the time, I have great memories of going with them. So
Right. Yeah.
that made the movie fun for me. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll watch it on a movie night, but I'm kind of scared of it though.
It's good.
It's good. Did they have a scene in there with like Bruce eating a chocolate cake, or did they do it completely different?
Dude, I ain't gonna spoil it. I'm
Okay,
not
don't
gonna
spoil
spoil
it. All
it
right,
for
I'll
you.
check it out.
Do you know what I mean?
We'll talk
It's
about it
like,
next time.
exactly, yeah. So you talked about, we'll talk about it next time and things like that. We covered a lot in your about your early journey and things like that. So, and you also talked about the burnout within 3 months there. What would you go back if you could go back before our interview and do it again? What would you say to Kenny? Because you've obviously opened up a lot more about your personal life in this one and things like that. What would you say to Kenny before he's about to do the interview with me the first time?
Relax. It's gonna be okay. Just relax. Because I was kind of nervous. It was my first interview. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. I'm not a great speaker, and that's another thing I think Kiss the Ring is helping me with. But after we got over, I was like, oh, okay, you know what? That was cool. That was fine. So I would have just told myself to relax. It's gonna be fine.
What about if we go back to the first 3 months of your channel? What would you say to almost burned out Kenny if you could have a conversation with him where you are in your life now?
I would just say keep going. And I'm glad because I remember I was laying on the couch that night. I did not want to make a video. And I was like, you know what? This is something we can go off, so I'll just do it. And I did it and it worked. So I would just told myself, I mean, I think I kind of found the me right now inside to actually get up and do
Mm,
that video. So maybe that was me myself telling myself back then to just get up and do it. So I mean, because that's pretty much exactly what I would say. Just keep going. It's gonna
mm.
be okay.
You have had an amazing journey as a creator, found your niche within the gaming industry, found your niche within the wrestling industry, and things like that. First of all, what would your advice be to someone that's like maybe only got 30 subscribers right now, wants to grow their channel, wants to be more involved within their space and things like that? And then where do you think, what are some of your future goals as well as a creator?
So to somebody who's only got 30 subscribers and they're
That was an
people say,
example, by the way.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Just an example. So 30, 50, 100, no matter what, if you're having a hard time, try to reach out to somebody. I mean, if what you're doing is not working, you kind of got to look at what other people are doing and don't copy anybody like directly, but take little pieces from here and there to see what everybody's doing because if you're at 30 subscribers and you're not going past 30 subscribers, then something is not working. So you got to look at your content, compare it to other people's, and see maybe you need to change your area. Maybe you need to change your presentation. For that was another thing. That's another big thing for me is presentation. I have shirts that I only wear on YouTube. Like I got some shirts lined up on this wall that I only wear for YouTube. They're one size shorter than the shirt, one size smaller than the shirts I wear. Like when I started, I wasn't wearing a hat and I was like, I need something else. So I put the hat on. So, I mean, just the way I see myself on camera, I feel like it has to be some type of, just like when I see wrestlers, it's got to be some type of character. Because if you see me in person, I'll probably look completely different. But this is just my YouTube persona. Like when I look like this, I'm in YouTube mode. When I put
Mm,
this ring on, I'm in Kiss the Ring mode. I put it on when you said Kiss the Ring. And you know what? I don't know. Maybe it's just me kind of being like the superhero I want to see on TV so I can kind of turn into what I need to be on camera. So you got to kind of find out a mixture of everything. Find your presentation, find your look, find your style. Because I speak louder even here than I speak in person. It's just me projecting. You just got to find out what works for you. See what works for other people and kind of take those things that you can pull out of yourself and push it. And talk to people as well. If you feel like what you're doing is not working, one thing about Matt from a symbol, like if you need, I don't want to send everybody over to him, but if I feel like if I have a question or if I need to know about something, I can always go to him and ask him
mm.
because I met him at Money in the Bank, great guy. And I just feel like if I need advice, I mean, he's like a guru, so I can go ask him. I know he works close with Brian a lot and he helps Brian out.
Yeah.
So there's always those creators who aren't just out there for themselves. They'll help you out. So you just got to find somebody you can talk to. If you reach out to me, I try to respond to everything. So, I'll help you out where I can as well. So, I mean, it's just reaching out to the right people to figure out what's going on if you can't figure it out yourself.
You talked about there reaching out to the right people as well. Something we talked about in our last conversation, Kenny, was the fact that when you were starting out in your channel, you were still treating, how do I say this, YouTube creators like how you would as a fan, being in their comment section and things like that. So has
Yes.
that changed now? And are you more, I don't want to say professional, but I know what I mean. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I try not to go in comment sections anymore, even like during live streams. Like I'll watch a lot of creators live streams, but sometimes because I guess people know me in certain spaces, I'll be like if I say something in the chat, they'll be like, "Oh, hey Kenny, I don't like that because you got this creator, on camera doing their thing, and me in the chat is kind of pulling attention to me." So they'll be like, "Hey Kenny, what's up, Kenny?" So I try not to say anything, or I'll log on my a separate account that nobody knows it's me, and I'll just comment with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of be careful with that, and just putting opinions on people's videos under their comment sections. When you are making your videos yourself, you gotta kind of be careful with that because you can kind of influence people there as well. So I don't comment too much on my page.
You brought up Matt from Assemble and people like that. Who are some other creators that you're like, I would like to work with them? I'd love to have them on a video for Kiss the Ring if they wanted to come on and things like that.
For Kiss the Ring, you for one, Tom. We wanted to have you on. We were talking about it last night, but I think I'm like 5 seconds behind you, or 5 minutes,
Five,
5 hours
five
behind you.
hours, we established
Yeah,
this last night, I think.
yeah. But we like when we record our shows, like we go right after SmackDown or Raw goes on. So it's like what, like 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning for you.
Mm.
So we're trying to figure it out. We were thinking about something for All In. Are you going to All In
Not
or?
going, but I will be doing some coverage for sites and stuff.
So maybe we can find some way to make something work there because Steve OG is another one we really want to get on. I haven't ever asked RGT. I know he's a wrestling guy. I think, we would love to get him on one day. Matt, he's a family man, of course. So I know he's busy those late hours of nights. But we definitely want to have him on some stuff. Um, you know what? I'd like to get Mr. Dubs back on some videos with us. Um, Loaded is a beast. I know I'm gonna leave people out, but I think those are the main names that for sure we've been talking about. You, Steve OG, and I wanted to present RGT so we could maybe ask him. But I think those are the top three.
Uh, Basically, I will say what I said to you in DMs, which is if we can work it out, dude, I'm there. You know that
Yeah,
because you guys are my friends. Like it's got to that point where I
yeah, for
think we're
sure.
friends now, and it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'll come on. It's just I'm not a big night out since I live
Yeah,
on the
yeah, and
island.
I
You
understand
know what I
that.
mean?
Yeah, we got to find some time to make it work. But would you be okay though? Because sometimes the fire flies in there. We might be arguing with each other, and you might just be sitting.
No, dude, I love things like that. I
Hmm.
don't like conflict, but I'm someone that's like,
Yeah,
you guys argue. I'll just get my
yeah.
point. Enjoy
But
this.
that's another thing. Yeah, yeah. That's another thing. Like people think we're like arguing and like we don't like each other, but as soon as the videos go off, we're laughing, talking like we're real friends. So those
Yeah,
arguments only really happen on camera and they're just fun for us. So yeah, if you come in there and it sparks off, just know it's all love.
I know. You
Sometimes we
talk
make Omer mad though. You can just see him on camera like, but he's fine when as soon as that video cuts. So I think it works.
you talk about that. I think it works and being real friends. Not to get too sappy, Kenny.
Hmm.
What do the guys from Kiss the Ring mean to you?
Um, A lot, man. I mean, I wish I mean, Kiro got banned from America, y'all. He can't come back. I'm just kidding. He's from Turkey, so it's kind
Yeah.
of harder for him to get to America. So I wish we could like hang with Kiro more often, but me, Brian, Omer, like I would be going to these shows by myself because my friends at home, they don't watch wrestling. So, I mean, they mean a lot, man. And I love when we can actually fly out to those shows, get to meet each other, chill. We're looking at going to Bad Blood, getting an Airbnb. So, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I really love chilling with them. Like Kiro, the first time we met him was at Money in the Bank. I think that was really the main reason I wanted to go because he lives in Canada right now. He's going to
Mm.
be moving pretty soon, but We were able to link up with Kiro before he moved. So, I mean, that was, a great thing. So, I mean, great guys overall. And we've never had any arguments or anything like anything serious or disagreements. Everything just really works with them. So, yeah, love those guys.
Where do you think your YouTube career, for lack of a better phrase, would be if you never launched Kiss the Ring and things like that?
So, I would definitely still be doing just because I'm pretty dedicated. I would still be doing things on my main channel, but I don't think I would be as good as I am with speaking because I learned a lot from those guys like Kiro, Brian, even like Omer. We learned a lot like from ways to present ourselves, like ways to send emails to these companies, things like that. If we want to get back to get like impress at the media scrums and things like that. Like Omer, he teaches us a lot, but Kiro on the technical side genius. Like we jumped in to do some videos last night as we're recording this video, and we had a guest on Davon Lewis, and we were like, oh man, we only got a 4-man booth, but we got 5 people in here. Like, and we were trying to figure out whether we needed to make a new one or what. Hero just off the top of his head split himself out and put himself in a different part. Like he's a technical genius. Whatever you need to do, like little tricks in Photoshop, he can give you those pointers. Brian, um, I mean, we don't really even like Brian. We just keep him around. No, Brian, he's been doing content himself for a long time since he was a kid. So there's a
14
lot
years, he
himself.
said to
Yeah.
me
He's been
when I
doing it a
had him on.
long time. So a lot himself. I think Brian is kind of unsure of himself sometimes, but Brian is going to the moon. I don't even know if he sees it yet, but he's very young and he's great at what he does and he's getting better and better. He's dedicated to it. He was posting every day when he had the points he could speak on. Now it's kind of tough when you're covering the same thing. That's kind of what I was referring to earlier with burnout. If you just cover one thing, when there's nothing to talk about, you're kind of forcing yourself. But he's doing really good where he is right now. Again, he's so young. By time, in about 5 years, I think he's going to be on the top. So he is Brian's going to the moon. And then another thing about Kiro as well, when Kiro finds something he's interested in, he's going to make the best video anybody ever can. But I mean, if he's not interested, he's not going to force himself to do anything. So it's another thing I respect about him. He's like, you know what? If I want to do something, I'm going to do it 100% and it's going to be a masterpiece. He studies and makes these videos like 300 facts you need to know about this. And he'll lay
Yeah.
out 300 facts in a video, go through and edit that video. I'm like, that takes a crazy amount of studying. Like if I could make videos like that, I would be going crazy. But I really respect that about him because he's a great creator, but he's not going to force himself to do something he doesn't want to do. So these guys all have like their like special things about them. So I think it's good for me really to be partnered with them because they help me when I'm by myself as well. Like Kiddo, another thing, thumbnail genius. I love what he
Oh
does with
yeah.
his thumbnails. I try not to copy his thumbnails on my main channel just because he does his own thing. But I mean, like when we're doing Kiss the Ring thumbs, he's like, do this, move this here. And I think the thumbs look great when anytime he puts his input in. So I'm sorry, Brian, big on, but when it comes to thumbnails, Kiddo is definitely the king.
That's really, really cool, my friend. As we look wrapping this up, man, because I do want to be respectful of your time, we are going to, before we do the classic wrap up questions, which I'm sure we did last time, which is
Yeah, yeah.
generic questions and things like that. I want to know, Kenny, do you view your content creation career as a success so far? And
I
if you
would
step,
say, go
and
ahead. Sorry.
sorry, pal, and if you stepped away, what would you want your legacy as a creator to be?
So yes, I do view it as a success right now, just because it's a lot further than I ever thought it was going to be, especially this soon. So I'm very happy with the success. And if I stop today, um, I'm really proud of the way people perceive my content, I guess, because sometimes I'll make a video and I'm like, oh man, that was rough. I don't even want to put this up, but I spent so long on it. I'm just gonna put it up and whatever. I'll walk away. I don't even want to look in the comment section, but like people will still show love. Like one thing a lot of people will say is people will be negative. Like I really don't see any negativity. So I guess I'm really proud about that because I don't know. I guess I connect with the people. It's never not Kiss the Ring now. If you go into Kiss the Ring comments full of negativity because of my takes, but that's okay because I'm giving opinions and you know what, it's what I expect. But for my main channel, like where I kind of keep everything, um I
Professional?
wouldn't even say there because I do spit some opinions there people don't like. But you know what? When I spit opinions, I'm not mad when people don't like them because they're my opinions, and sometimes they are outside of what most people will think. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm not going to hide that so people will like me. I'd rather be myself. So I think the fact that I've been that I'm myself, whether you hate it or love it, you know, whether I lose people because of it, I guess one thing I'm most proud of is that I consider myself successful being myself, and I don't have to try to be something else to try to make people like me.
Hmm. What about what do you want your legacy as a creator to be if you stepped away?
My legacy. Hmm. That's a loaded question, Tom. That's loaded.
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess I just would want people to really appreciate the fact that whether they like my opinions or not, um, you know, I was myself. I guess I haven't thought about my legacy though. The legacy is something I don't know. I that's all I got for you, Tom. I don't know.
That's really, really cool, my friend. And I always love how open you are in these conversations.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I have and I hate when I do this, but when I have creators that have been on before, I always ask this question.
let's do
Have
it.
have I improved? What did you enjoy about this conversation? Where can I improve? And everything in between.
Tom, you make it easy just like the guys on Kiss the Ring. Like the first time when I was first meeting you, I didn't really know what to expect, but this time I felt a lot more comfortable because I'm like, oh, Tom's just a cool guy. Same thing Omar said. He's like, yo, Tom's like last night we were talking about me doing this. He was like, Tom's really a cool guy. So, you know, he wanted to do another interview. He wanted to come in here with me. So if you ever want to do team interviews, like a Kiss the Ring interview with us together, we would love to do it. So
One day.
you're
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
I
We love
really.
yeah, we all love you. But
I,
I mean, congratulations though, because you've been getting some huge names. Like a
mm,
lot of people you're striking off of your bucket list. I mean, that shows how good you're doing. So I think just keep going, Tom. I mean, you ask great questions. I love the way like if somebody says something, like you'll pull what they said and tie back into the next question. I think that's mastercraft work as well.
I really appreciate that, my friend. Before it gets too mushy, we are going to do the wrap up segment, which, as Kenny said, he's done before, but I'm curious
Mhm.
to know if his answers have changed. Where we talk about the questions Kenny might be asked on social media, also known as generic wrestling questions. Those of you that have seen my interviews before know this is where I'll ask Kenny his favorite match, favorite pay per view card, such as Double or Nothing 2019, for example, favorite wrestler's entrance theme, favorite tag team, and favorite wrestler. Basically, the questions, like I said, that I assume Kenny might be asked on social media or in his YouTube comments or streams. So now he'll have a place to be like, I've answered this. Please go
Mhm.
watch this. So, what's your favorite match of all time?
My favorite match of all time is still the same. I don't know if anything is ever going to top it. The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25.
Why does that one speak to you as a fan, my friend?
I still remember just sitting there watching that match. I just could not believe what was going on, what these two guys were doing. For one, The Undertaker is my favorite wrestler of all time. So for him to be in that ring putting on this match, oh man, again, I was just so excited. It was the first match that really gave me these feels. Like I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Just jumping up at the TV because like growing up again, I was not really a match guy. I was into the story and who's going to win the match
Mm,
because I really thought it was real for a long time. But then, you know, growing up and when you know it's not real and they're putting on a performance, I just think that was the best performance we ever saw. I ever saw. But since then, I do have a new number two. It used to be Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes at Double or Nothing. Now, my number two match is Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland at Full Gear from last year.
why does that one speak to you as a fan, pal?
It gave me that same feeling the Undertaker match film gave me, and the Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes, but just the bloody nature of it, the story behind it, Swerve Strickland going into Hangman's house, and this was kind of like the last straw. Like you went into my house, you violated my family. Now we got to have this bloody, violent match, and it all made sense. The story tied back into the match they had, and it was just beautiful. I think everything just worked together perfectly.
That's really, really cool. What about your favorite overall pay per view card?
My favorite overall pay-per-view card, you know what? I still I don't know the year. I'm not a year guy. It was All Out where Brian Danielson and Adam Cole debuted.
2021.
Beautiful, beautiful card. Loved it. And just the end of it, perfectly played.
That's really, really cool. What about your favorite wrestler's entrance theme?
My favorite wrestler's entrance theme is actually new here. The Rock, the final boss. Because that night when he came out and it was just like his normal music, and then he stopped and it switched over to his heel music. Beautiful.
Really, really cool. What about your favorite tag team?
My favorite tag team, I think I gave you the wrong answer last time, but it's definitely the Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker and Kane. I don't remember who I said last time, but I think Omer called me out on it. He was like, yo, you said this? And I was like, no, it's definitely the Undertaker and Kane. So yeah, Brothers of Destruction.
Why do they speak to you as a fan, pal?
I just remember, man. For one, the Undertaker's my favorite wrestler still. Kane was his brother. And like when you would go backstage and they were walking to the ring, you just see these two just walking next to each other, two monsters. When you talk about character, you talk about presentation, you talk about what everybody likes to say today, aura, it was Undertaker and Kane. And nobody's going to job them out. Like these guys are going to come out there and beat you up. Whether they win or lose, you're going to get beat up. So love the Brothers of Destruction.
That's really, really cool. And then finally, Kenny, we've talked about him a lot, but the biggest generic wrestling question, in my opinion, who is your favorite overall wrestler?
Come right now or of all time?
Can we do both?
Right now, well, we'll start with all time. It's the Undertaker. I said it a million times, but right now it's tough. Uh, right now it's tough because I don't think anybody really stands above everybody else too much, except Roman Reigns, of course. But not really a huge Roman Reigns guy. I think they've watered down Cody Rhodes. Does The Rock count? Can we go with the final boss?
Yeah,
I'm going with the final boss.
that's really, really cool. As we wrap this up, Kenny, obviously, I want to thank you for a great conversation as always. Thank you for coming back on, my friend, and
Yes, sir.
completing the Kiss the Ring lineup. So, as we wrap this up, you know, the question I end this show on, my friend, is I believe as content creators, even just people with social media, we're all sort of going to live forever in a very, very weird way, if you
You're
think
right.
about the word. So, what is one piece of content you're like, I would like to be remembered for that? Then what is one that you're like, yuck, please forget about?
One thing I think you should remember me for is go look at the video we posted last night as we record this video. What date is it? I believe it was posted on August 10th because it might have been after midnight. It's called Kenny Baum Has a Bad Take on Roman Reigns. If you ever want to know my opinions or how I feel about wrestlers, go take a look at that because I'm keeping it real. And the people in the comment section are saying you guys need to get rid of Kenny, but I ain't going nowhere. And if I was to say one thing they need to forget, mm, 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 mm. What was it last time?
It was a chair review.
Yeah, that's the same thing that just came to my mind before I thought about that. The chair review for this chair right here. They gave me a free chair and I did a review for it. So don't even worry about it. It was just for a free chair. Forget about that video.
That's really, really cool, my friend. As we wrap this up, please tell the good people where they can find you because it's well worth following you as one of the hardest working people in this space.
Well, thank you, sir. You guys can find me at youtube.com/KennyBomb. KennyBomb.com did work, but they took the domain and I got to set it back up. So hopefully that's working when this thing comes out. Or you can find me at Kiss the Ring. Just type in Kiss the Ring. Zendaya is still popping up #1 when you type it up, but we're popping up right behind her. So we're going to overtake her here pretty soon. If it doesn't pop up for you, type in Kiss the Ring WWE and you can find me and the fellas talking about wrestling. And we're going to get Tom on there pretty soon. So hopefully we got him on there by the time you check it out.
It's well worth doing, guys, and I hope we can make that collaboration happen. So if you
We
guys like
sure
this,
will.
make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter or
And Kiss the Ring.
X at Tom Talks Rubbish, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye now.